over on the back, you'll see the types of subject matter that we're covering, particularly under the required related courses. You see a curriculum heavily based in law, but also incorporating geology, which is important, surface and subsurface geology, and a course in ethics, which of course is important, and GIS. So the uniqueness of this program is that it is heavily law-based, but it also combines these other disciplines of geology and GIS into the curriculum. The second offering, let's say you're somebody who already has a bachelor's degree, but it's not necessarily in the oil and gas field, and you want to boost your knowledge in that area. You can take part in our land management certificate program. This consists of 10 courses. They're listed on the reverse side of the sheet that I handed out. Again, same courses essentially that are in the Bachelor of Arts program. And this is something that can be completed in 4 semesters, 100% online. At first, we didn't really know what kind of response we were going to get to these types of offerings, but I'll tell you what, the response has been incredible. We announced this program back in May, and since May, we've had interest like you can't.
Used to be called Philadelphia Region Clean Cities. Now it's called Eastern Pennsylvania Alternative Clean Transportation over in the Philadelphia area, but they have 34 counties in the east. So again, you can see what we're really looking at, and we're even looking at idle reduction. There's a lot of programs out there that go on anti-idling, truck electrification, electric vehicles, fuel economy. So there's a lot of that goes in there, but the majority of the information. So a little bit about us. We're a 501c3. We've been around since December of '95. And again, kind of what we're trying to do, developing the markets of alternative fuel energy in both public and private, and create jobs and fuel economy. And again, I think that a lot of us in this room have some of that same mission in trying to move people. But let me give you, and some of this is on that chart over there as well, just what we reported on. 1,321,849 GGEs we displaced the petroleum-based fuel in 2013. We displaced 4,529 tons, light tons of greenhouse gas. That's pretty phenomenal. We expect in 2014 to reach 2 million. So a little bit about our board of directors. We do a 1-year and an extended range plan. Part of this is required by
the NOxes, or nitrogen oxides, are 50% better. Particulate matter, the soot we talked about, is 95% better. Volatile organics, 50% better. And greenhouse gases, 25 to 30% better. And this holds true for natural gas, propane, LNG, CNG. Your emissions are infinitely better. Safety factor. One of the biggest questions we always get are, well, I'm not going to drive around with a bomb in my car or in the back of my truck. We're all driving around with bombs in our cars right now. Gasoline and diesel fuel are far more dangerous than CNG or propane in a vehicle. Let's talk about that. Number one, CNG, methane, is lighter than air. So if we do get a leak, it rises above the atmosphere. It doesn't pool under the vehicle to create a big fire and a long burning incident that's going to barbecue the vehicle if we catch on fire. It's safe to handle. It's not a cryogenic fuel. It's not a carcinogen. It doesn't cause skin cancer or anything like that. It's colorless, odorless, and it's non-toxic. And the safety factor for the tanks, you can go up to a gas tank on any vehicle, a gasoline tank, and take a screwdriver and poke a hole in it with relatively little effort. A CNG tank will survive the impact. Nitrogen oxides are 50% better. Particulate matter, the soot we talked about, is 95% better. Volatile organics, 50% better. And greenhouse gases, 25 to 30% better. And this holds true for natural gas, propane, LNG, CNG. Your emissions are infinitely better. Safety factor. One of the biggest questions we always get are, well, I'm not going to drive around with a bomb in my car or in the back of my truck. We're all driving around with bombs in our cars right now. Gasoline and diesel fuel are far more dangerous than CNG or propane in a vehicle. Let's talk about that. Number one, CNG, methane, is lighter than air. So if we do get a leak, it rises above the atmosphere. It doesn't pool under the vehicle to create a big fire and a long burning incident that's going to barbecue the vehicle if we catch on fire. It's safe to handle. It's not a cryogenic fuel. It's not a carcinogen. It doesn't cause skin cancer or anything like that. It's colorless, odorless, and it's non-toxic. And the safety factor for the tanks, you can go up to a gas tank on any vehicle, a gasoline tank, and take a screwdriver and poke a hole in it with relatively little effort. A CNG tank will survive the impact of a high-speed
ceiling. If you've got an open flame heating unit, that's going to be ignition source. So maintaining vehicles, there are some requirements for your facility as far as the heating source, certain requirements, fire extinguishers, fire marshals. There has to be a little bit of education for that, but there is a little bit of a change in that as well. But propane is just like gasoline. The characteristics are very close. If you 10 miles gasoline, 1 gallon of gas, it would take 1.1 gallons of propane to go that same 10 miles. So it's very close in the characteristics of gasoline. So propane doesn't require as much as well as natural gas as far as facility maintenance. So, any questions?
I just have one more.
Yes,
What are you hearing on the tanks? That obviously is the driving cost to conversions and even dedicated. You're hearing there's a new Experian company in Heath, Ohio that's opening. They're partnering with 3M, I believe.
Right.
You hear things that Chrysler is looking at some alternately new technology in tanks. You guys see anything?
Yeah, there's different classes of tanks, and you can go cheap and go with a Type 1, like a welding tank, steel tank. You can go up to Type 4 and Type 5, where it's just a high compression, 3,600 PSI. There's new technology about absorbent material that will actually absorb. It doesn't need a round cylinder. Well, it will actually absorb natural gas, and you can get more volume in a tank.
Up in the past few years, so things are it's looking up in that regard as well. And natural gas is playing a role in that. The United States' huge production capability, I'm reading this because it's getting a little small for perhaps some of you in the back, and its vast gas infrastructure. We talked about the wonderful number of lines of infrastructure, and nobody make any comments about the infrastructure of People's Gas. We'll come back to that. Okay, make it uniquely well positioned to take advantage of the shift to natural gas. When we talk about the numbers of millions of miles of pipeline that exist, not only for Peoples, but for Columbia, for Equitable, as it existed, and even today that has been embraced in our system, TWP, and all of the gas companies and the other gas companies represented here. That's an important fact that we need to represent here, that we do have the infrastructure available as far as pipeline is concerned to be able to move that gas, to get it to those who want to put the station up so that they can actually move the gas to the refueling station. Okay, increasing regulatory pressure on coal sector. How many days would you look in a newspaper or on the news and not see a story where there is an environmental push against coal right now, even in Pennsylvania? And we are in coal country. So we can see what's happening. So it's leading electricity generators to switch to natural gas. So this is another way we see natural gas taking place here. Low-cost natural gas. We've already talked about the fact that
fueling infrastructure. This is one of the key critical elements that we need to put in place for all of the alternate fuels. We need to have fueling infrastructure either at the facility or public fueling infrastructures need to be built. Reading an article again talking about the production of natural gas and what's going to come. the infrastructure to get the gas from here to the different parts of this country. There's hundreds of miles of pipeline that need to be built. Facilities need to be built to process the product. And again, pipelines to move it out. If we don't get that done, you know, we're gonna be kind of stranded with the product here in our own backyard. All the projections right there go to, I think, 2035, that they have a plan put in place for infrastructure to be built and what it's gonna take to do it, to get product from the Marcellus area, the Balkan, and the other shale formations to where it needs to go. And unfortunately, when you read a lot of that, it says if we do not use it here, it's going to be exported. And so,
We've got a good program going forward. That does not include any of the buses that are running the grant. I don't think that moves us into anything. No, we're still behind Nebraska, but Nebraska's been, you know, they've been doing a good job of marketing too. Their numbers are going up. I didn't include them in the next one. These are some of the fleets in Western Pennsylvania. There's a couple of the eastern guys. Well, that's all the eastern guys right now for the, again, the propane powered Vision. The Vision is what we call the school bus out there that has the hood. Green Stars are the fleets that we're currently servicing in propane school buses. And then some of the stuff they're seeing. I mean, everyone's saying, okay, they're seeing fuel, they're seeing this, they're seeing that. Our guys, they're school bus people. They're not, you know, these huge giant businessmen. Most of them started as farmers. Now they run a couple hundred buses. No more DEF. They love that. That's $2.50 a gallon. You know, at a maximum of 30% solution, that can add up when you start adding it to fuel. No more winter diesel additives. You know, you're already paying $4 a gallon for that diesel, and then you got to put these additives in there that almost, you know, it's not double the price of fuel, but you're adding a significant amount to that fuel. And then you got to do it every time you fill the tanks. Startup temperatures. None of our buses failed to start this winter time, which was great. And they didn't have to plug in. So we do offer a block heater on these buses, but they don't plug in. So you're like, oh, big deal.